Hey everybody, welcome back to H4G. I'm your host Tony, and today we're taking a look at Game Boy Advance prototype and development cartridges. I don't own these, so big thank you to Andrew who lent them to me specifically to show to all of you. Alright, so let's go ahead and dive in. Now first off, we have a prototype dev cartridge for Rayman Advance. This was a launch title for the Game Boy Advance, and of course, like all the dev carts that we've seen before, it is absolutely giant. You know, I love how it's just kind of like stuffed into like a regular Game Boy or Game Boy Color cartridge. I'm assuming this is the case because the Game Boy housing covers more of the board and probably gives a little bit more stability with less hanging out. And obviously the Game Boy Advance system has backwards compatibility, so you can put a Game Boy or Game Boy Color cartridge into it and there wouldn't be some sort of a physical barrier or lockout. So using this type of cartridge was perfectly fine. So why exactly did they need to be so big? Well, first off, these weren't retail ready, so it didn't really matter what they looked like. But also, the size allowed the boards to have a variable number of flash memory modules. So if the game was bigger, you could always get more flash memory modules. Basically, it just gave you options. Now, this particular card is a review copy. When we take a look at this here, it says Rayman Gba Review, Ubisoft, and you lift this up, it becomes clear that it's actually the European version. Rayman Gba Preview, 60401, Spain. Assuming this uses the European dating system, it was released on April 6th, 2001, 2 months before the game was released when the GBA launched in June. At least, I think this was also a launch title for the GBA in Europe. I know it was in the US. Or if it utilizes the American dating system, it would be mere weeks before the Game Boy Advance launched. So for reference, in Europe, the Game Boy Advance launched on 6/22/01. So chances are the game, being a preview, it's probably pretty close to the final version. And as it turns out, the ROMs are close, but actually this is a little bit different from the final run. Both myself and the owner of this cart did play many of the levels looking for differences, but couldn't find any. Although, keep in mind, I'm familiar with Rayman, but I'm not like a super big Rayman enthusiast or huge Rayman fanboy, so it's entirely possible that I might not be the best person to notice subtle differences. Probably just some line of code somewhere that's not visible by playing the normal game. So a few months back, I took a look at a Wrestlemania prototype for the Super Nintendo. And after I took a look at it, SNES Central took a look at it as well, and they actually noticed a few differences that I didn't notice, specifically in the credits. Which makes sense, right? So, late stage prototype, they're doing some final tweaking, credits probably the last thing they're worried about, making some adjustments to spelling, maybe some new members are jumping into the team, some new testers, that kind of thing. With Rayman Advance, that could also potentially be the case, especially since it's a port of Rayman. It's not going to be a drastically different game from the source material, but maybe the credits would be a little bit different. So that said, I did also check the credits and compared them to the retail version, and they were the same. Now, the ROM that I dumped from this prototype apparently does exist online. I guess someone who had this previously, or perhaps another prototype that had the exact same version, dumped the ROM and did release it, so it is somewhere out there, although I don't know where. I should also mention that you may have noticed the footage looks a little bit different here and there. I recorded this on my PC, but also recorded some of it using my GameCube video plug-and-play HDMI out via Zelda X Pro, which I learned about via the Metal Jesus Rocks channel. So far, I'm enjoying it. I might do a full review in the future if you all are interested, so let me know in the comments below. Now, I must say though, if you haven't played this game, it's actually pretty good. I've played both the Jaguar version and this version, and this definitely holds up. My only issue is how zoomed in it is. It kind of reminds me of like when they would bring Master System games to the Game Gear because there was a smaller resolution. Oftentimes it would seem more zoomed in. So for example, like on the Sonic games, on the Game Gear, Sonic would be really big, but you couldn't see the surroundings really well. Same thing with this. Rayman is really big, really detailed, but you can't always tell where you're supposed to go because the platforms aren't visible on screen. Now for our bonus prototype, this is the one, the only, the Dora the Explorer. And I say bonus prototype because you know damn well if I did a standalone video on this, you would not have clicked. So just like the other cartridge, it is absolutely huge with its flash memory, dip switches, all that stuff just hanging out for the world to see. Now this was actually discovered at a recycling center. Not the current owner, but the previous owner went to go do their environmental duty and recycle, and ended up finding this as well as a number of other prototype goodies just ready to be smashed up and recycled. Now, as a bonus find, this card actually came with this attachment, which allows you to save your game. And you can connect it to the Rayman card as well, and it does the same thing. Now this particular title is a combo cart, a 2-in-1 of Pirate Pig's Treasure and Super Star Adventures. So basically the company publishing this took two already developed games and slapped them together into one cart. The prototype and the retail ROMs are in fact different, but again, I'm not quite sure how. I figured if there were any differences, it'd be in the menu or the credits, considering these two games were already complete. Now to me, the menu looks the same. And I played some of these games, but honestly, it's just too mind-numbing to try to beat and actually see the credits. I think it's safe to say that I'm not the right demographic.
Let's go! Vámonos!
So really for me, this Dora card is just more so another opportunity to showcase the hardware and less so talk about the game itself. Now, unlike the Rayman prototype, this Dora prototype was previously undumped, at least as far as I'm aware. So that said, thank you very much for watching, everybody, and Andrew, thank you again for lending these. I really did enjoy learning more about these titles. So if you did enjoy this video, make sure to share, make sure to like, support us on Patreon if that's something that you're interested in, and we will see you guys next time. Thank you again for watching. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a like and a share, and we will see you guys next time.